Well, good morning. Today is Wednesday, the 30th of October, and today we are in John chapter 8. We're going to look at verses 48 through 59, the last of the chapter. And Jesus has been having some dialogue with the Jewish people about their spiritual heritage and their natural heritage, the difference. They are all physically the children of Abraham, Jewish people, but Jesus has explained to them that spiritually many of them are of their father, the devil. And again, he's speaking to them about spiritual things, but using a physical analogy. So, like the analogy of I am the bread of life. Well, obviously he's not bread, but he is spiritual bread. He's spiritual sustenance. So we get here to verse 48 of chapter 8, and the Jews answered him, "Are we not right to say that you are a Samaritan and have a demon?" And Jesus answered, "I do not have a demon, but I honor my Father, and you dishonor me. Yet I do not seek my own glory. There is one who seeks it, and he is the judge. Truly, truly, I say to you, if anyone keeps my word, he will never see death. Are you greater than our father Abraham, who died, and the prophets died? Who do you make yourself out to be?" Jesus answered, "If I glorify myself, my glory is nothing. It is my Father who glorifies me, of whom you say he is our God. But you have not known him. I know him. If I were to say that I do not know him, I would be a liar like you. But I do know him, and I keep his word. Your father Abraham rejoiced that he would see my day. He saw it and was glad." So the Jews said to him, "You are not yet 50 years old, and have you seen Abraham?" Jesus said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am." So they picked up stones to throw at him, but Jesus hid himself and went out of the temple. Before Abraham was, I am. I noted when we first started in this study of the Gospel of John that each of the four Gospels show Jesus from a different perspective. Matthew's Gospel presents Jesus as the King of Kings, and it traces his lineage back to King David. He was a descendant of David. In Mark's Gospel, Jesus is presented as a servant, the suffering servant, spoken of in Isaiah 53, a man acquainted with grief and full of sorrow. Luke's Gospel presents the humanity of Jesus and traces his lineage all the way back to Adam, and the fact that he is indeed 100% human, born of a virgin. John's Gospel presents Jesus in his deity. The very first words of the Gospel of John, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And then it says, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. And so the Gospel of John has been continually showing the deity of Jesus Christ. He fed the 5,000. He walked on water. He commands the storms to cease. He raises the dead. And now he has, again, told these Jewish people, listen, I came from my Father. I don't speak on my own accord. You claim to be children of Abraham, but if you were children of Abraham, you would rejoice in seeing me because he saw me. And of course, they want to basically call him a Samaritan, a half-breed who has a demon. That's what they're calling him. And he says, look, I'm only 50 years old in this physical form. But before Abraham was, I am. And that word, that terminology, I am, refers all the way back to what was the name that Jesus, or that God told Moses to tell the people when he went to them back in Egypt. He said, if they ask me who has sent me, tell them I am has sent you. It's the name of God. And so they took up stones. They were going to stone him to death for blasphemy, and he left the temple. So what is Jesus saying? Well, what is this passage teaching us? It's teaching us that Jesus claims to be God in the flesh. That's what it says. He claims to be God in the flesh. He said, before Abraham even lived, I am. So he's claiming deity. And how do we apply this to our life? Well, we have to apply the specs for a moment, and we need to ask those questions. Is there any sin being talked about here that I need to forsake? Well, what was the sin here? These people were denying Christ. They were denying his deity. They were denying his person. And they were basically, by rejecting him, committing the unforgivable sin. They were saying he had a demon, and not, instead of putting their faith in him, they were denying him. So the application for us is, have you placed your faith in Jesus Christ? Now, there's not many people. I mean, we live here in the Bible Belt, here in North Carolina. And most people, not all, there are people running around here that are atheists and, agnostic. But for the most part, people believe in God. The problem is this: there are many people who, with their mouth, say they believe in God, but with their actions, they're practical atheists. They live as if there's no God. They live their life, they make their decisions as if God doesn't exist. They're practical atheists. See, it's not what we say that's the most important thing. It's how we live our life. And so my question again is, do you have faith in God? Do you trust in Jesus? Do you know that he is God in the flesh? And Is he Lord of your life? That's the question. That's the sin. If we're not living that way, we need to turn, place our faith in Jesus Christ, and live our life for him. Okay? Letter P, inspect. Is there any promise to claim or principle to apply? Well, I think I don't see a promise per se, but the principle is basically, what are you going to do with Jesus? I mean, every world religion that I'm aware of acknowledges Jesus in some way. I mean, the Buddhists claim that he was a Buddha, some of them. The Muslims say he was a great prophet. Others acknowledge him as a good teacher. But do you acknowledge him as the Christ, the anointed one, the promised one of God, the one come to take away the sins of the world, the Lamb of God, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords? Do you acknowledge him? And that's the thing that we need to grapple with. Do we believe that Jesus is who he said he is? Now you have the Mormons, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who say that Jesus was God, but so are they. They're going to become gods too. So that's blasphemous. You have the Jehovah's Witnesses who deny the deity of Jesus Christ. They don't believe he was God. And so they deny him as well. Where do you stand? Where do you stand? Is there an example here to learn from? Well, I don't see a specific example, nor do I see a command to obey per se. But I am thankful. I'm thankful always that the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. I'm thankful today that he paid a debt he did not owe, because I owed a debt I could not pay. For that, I'm thankful. I'm thankful that he who knew no sin became sin for me, so that I might receive the righteousness of God through faith in him. It's good news. For that, I'm thankful. That's all I have for today. I hope you have a blessed day. We'll see you again tomorrow.